Hello, everyone. This is Puzzles with Benjamin 13. I am here. I went on a small vacation, for those who don't notice or didn't know, visit my family for Labor Day. And I'm back again to do other more puzzles with you guys. I am right now in the process of trying to share my video. I gotta find it though. I don't know why. Sometimes I get it right away, and sometimes I don't. Like when I look online for my video to share it. Oh, there it goes. All right, that's awesome. And sometimes I don't. Like when I look online for my. Okay. It's a small delay too, so I don't know if you heard that or not. But I'm definitely sharing it now for everyone. Just give me a second. Um, so pretty much, I'm gonna go over checks, captures, and threats again, like normally, and try to go over what I notice in puzzles. Basically, any patterns I notice, any type of like, especially checkmate patterns if I can, because those are super important. And I'll try my best to explain it for its level. For example, if it's a 200 rated puzzle, I'll try to explain it as a 200 rated puzzle. You know, um, if it's higher than that, then I would try to explain it accordingly because I feel like it's sometimes when I do these and people think I explain it a little bit too much or it's too easy, but I feel like I don't know your rating and I'm going to explain it according to the rating of the puzzle. If it's a very simple puzzle in the beginning, I would try to explain it that way. And as it advanced more, then I usually try to do that as well. So, all right, get started with that. All right, checks, captures, and threats. There's only one check possible, and that's the queen right here on h2, and the queen is protected by the bishop. And the king has one escape square. The queen's attacking these squares. And after the king escapes, he has nowhere else to go. So it's checkmate in two. That'd be check. He has nowhere to go, and that would be checkmate right here. Checks, captures, and threats. This check will be bad because you just put the pawn. There's this check right here, and this check I believe is checkmate. Now go over it. You call it check this way. It's also blocked in by the pawn. I mean, it's protecting the pawn. The king can't move here because it's blocked by his own pawn. Can't move here because of the knight. Can't move here because of this pawn. Can't move here because of the knight. And all these squares are taken care of. So that's checkmate with the rook. Checks, captures, and threats for white to move. The king right now is blocked in. The bishop he can't take because it's protected by the knight. And the king can't move here because the bishop. The king cannot move. Yeah, this pawn's blocking him as well. So he's completely blocked off. And this bishop is protected by the knight and the queen. So if you move one of the pieces, the other one is still protecting it. So it's perfectly fine. And the piece that can move and put the king in check at the same time as the knight by going to f7. The pawn is still protected. The king will be in check. And as I said earlier, the king can't move at all. So that also will be checkmate. Checks, captures, and threats for black to move. This is a common pattern for back rank mate. You have a king and 3 pawns. The king cannot move forward at all. So all you have to do is put the king in check on this file. Or rank, I mean. Yeah, rank. Files are the letters. Ranks are the numbers. On this rank. And that's back rank mate. So check. He'd have to move back. And you just take it. So this is one of the most important checkmates to remember when you first start playing chess. It is very common. and games. All right, checks, captures, and threats. The only check I notice immediately is knight to f2. This check is also possible, knight to g3, but he'll just give the pawn, and then there's nothing after that. So this check right here is also a fork on the queen. And it's not going to lead to mate this time, but once he loses the queen, that's looks like it might be pretty much game. There's two rooks, two minor pieces for a rook, and two minor pieces. So that's a winning endgame. All you gotta do is trade, and then you have a rook and pawns versus pawns. So that's all you pretty have to do. Yeah, knight f2 is definitely good. Let's check and capture. Checks, captures, and threats. The only check that exists right here that I immediately notice is right here. And this check is protected by the bishop, and the king has nowhere to go. He can't move because the queen has those squares covered. And yeah, that's basically game. So checkmate in 1. Checks, captures, and threats. And that's pretty much all you have to really do for a lot of puzzles. And when you do your own games, when you play games, you have to look at that. You have to look at all the checks. They're super important. The ones you can do and your ones your opponents can do. If you miss them, you're going to miss a checkmate against you. You can get checkmated, and you're like, oh, well, how that happened? And you're like, well, I should have noticed that. And you should. If you have to look at it, you have to look at all the checks and captures before making moves. This is the first check I noticed. It's protected by the knight. And it's also a checkmate because the king has nowhere to go, and it's blocked off by his own rook. So it's checkmate. Yeah. Hello. Checks, captures, and threats. The first thing I noticed is the check right here. This check is also checkmate. It's protected by the rook. The king has nowhere to go. And this is blocked off. So that's checkmate. Checks, captures, and threats. This right here is check. He's blocked off by his own queen. And that would also be mate because he has nowhere else to go. Oh, yeah, I see that. I could probably play a few games after my puzzles. I wouldn't mind. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. If you want to play against me after the puzzles, I can accept that. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Checks, captures, and threats. This right here is a check. He has two places he can go. So I gotta calculate each one. If he goes over to f1, that'll be checkmate. And if he were to go to, let's say, e2, that also will be checkmate right here with the queen. They have all these squares covered. It'll have, yeah, so that'll be checkmate as well. And also he can block with the pawn, but then I can just take the pawn and it will lead to the same situation. He'd have a choice, and either which way is checkmate. And checkmate. Checks, captures, and threats. This is the first check I notice. It's protected by the pawn, and it is also checkmate. Checks, captures, and threats. This is right here is check. First check I noticed. It's protected by the bishop. It can't be captured by any of his pieces, and it's also hitting the king and hitting the squares the king can move to. So that's checkmate. Checks, captures, and threats. Let's see here. This right here is a check. The bishop has these squares covered. Not only is it check, but it's also blocking this square off, which means the king only has one square to move to. So the king can move over down to h1. So that'd be check, move to h1, and this would be mate, taking the rook. because we established these are covered by the knight, these are covered by the bishop, and once you move the bishop over, the rook will call a check, and that'll be checkmate. Oh, that first. But it's still checkmate. Checks, captures, and threats. I think this might be the move, but I gotta calculate it first just to be sure. So I call it check. Let's say he's king move back. King goes here. Oh yeah, this is definitely it. You move the rook back here. The reason why you move the rook to g5 is because this rook will be pinned to the king. And after trades, this pawn is making a queen, and that's game. So that's basically how to win that. Take. Checks, captures, and threats. I don't see anything available here. I can just move the pawn up to make a queen. And let's say he moves, and I take. I can make a queen. And if you were to try to push this pawn, it can easily be stopped. Now, if I go to a7, he goes here first, and I take, and let's say he moves down, I can make a queen, and kind of the same thing. It'll still be game either which way because I'm able to make the queen first, so I can go ahead. Now that works too, I guess. And here, I can't move this way because if I move this way, he'll make a queen. So I have to block the making queen and then bring my queen in to stop him. All right, checks, captures, and threats. The only check I see is queen to b8. So I have to calculate that. If he moves the queen down to block, you don't take the queen. You can call it check again. The second check, the king will be forced to move back, and you will win the queen and it'll be checkmate at the same time. If you call it check, and let's say he doesn't move. Actually, he has no choice but to move the. Yeah, he can't move the king anyways, so he has to move the queen up. Okay, so I have to go over any other moves. Now, that's game. Checks, captures, and threats. First thing I notice is the check. He can capture. If I take back, the queen will take. And after that, I'm pretty unclear on what to do. So I don't think that's it. This is the first check I notice. And I don't have any other captures. This is a check and a capture. I don't have any other ones. This right here is a threat. I'm threatening the queen. Now, the queen is protecting this rook, so that's why this check, capture, doesn't work. It's an even trade. But this right here is a threat. It's threatening the queen, and when the queen moves off of the diagonal, it's not going to be protecting the rook anymore. So once it stops protecting the rook, that's basically if he moves out the way, you'll win the rook because you have two attacking and one defending. And he has another option. He can just take this rook here. But if he does that, you can take the queen. He can take the rook, and you win basically two rooks for a rook. You basically win two rooks for a rook and a queen. So I think that's the answer. Okay. He found a different way to defend. I didn't really think about that one, but it doesn't matter because I can take the rook, he can take, and it's still winning a piece. I like to go over all of them if I can, even though it seems like it's too much. Let's see here. Checks, captures, and threats. Wait to move. There's two checks. There's a knight check and a rook check. So you got to make sure you know the difference and which ones works better. If I call a check with the knight first, he can move over to f8. And then if I call a check this way, he'll take the knight. So that's not the order. The order is check with the rook. His queen can swing by, but the queen is also pinned. by the rook. And then knight to e7 check, forcing the king back, and that will be checkmate. Check, forcing the king back because it's pinned, so he can't take the knight. That'll be checkmate. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Checks, captures, and threats. Yeah, and it's super important to do all this too in your own games. When you're calculating moves, these are forcing moves. There's 16 forcing moves, like different types to look for. Checks, captures, and threats covers like 95%. And that's why you can do it with puzzles pretty easily. And forcing moves are the easiest ones to calculate. Once you can get those calculations down, you can probably start calculating other stuff over time. For checks, captures, and threats here, I don't see any checks. There's a capture, but I don't know what I'm doing after that. Like, he can take back. I mean, I could probably take the pawn and threaten the knight, but he can move the knight out of the way. So I can win a pawn. I don't know if the puzzle would want that. Like, I'm pretty sure there might be something better. In a game, I'm okay with that. I might just be like, oh, I can win a pawn. And I probably would, because it doesn't look like it's a really bad move. And it also brings your rook in. And it's attacking here. He has to move out the way somewhere. He can't move forward. He has to move maybe backwards, like back here or here, which is, good positionally. But I don't think that's the answer. I'm wondering if knight to c6 is the answer, hitting the queen. The queen has only one square to go to, so that might be the answer. And after the queen goes here, I want to see if I can trap the queen. Yeah, I could definitely take the pawn after I take the knight, but I want to see if I can take the queen. That's basically what I'm looking at. And I don't really think it's possible. I think the queen has escape squares. She can go here, here. Yeah, he can escape. See if there's anything better. If I don't see anything better, I'm going to go for the pawn. Knight to c6 and take the knight with bishop. Yes. Okay, that actually move the queen out the way, take the knight. Yeah, he had to move out the rook out the way somewhere. And yeah, that'd be a free piece. It definitely works. So this is more of a deflection or attack. So I would have got that wrong. I would have went for the pawn. So thank you. Checks, captures, and threats. There's two different checks. There's this check here and this check here. If I were to call it check this way, he would just move the king over, and I call it check, and the king would escape. He would just escape. He'll get out of there. If I were to call it check this way, because of the bishop, he only have one move, and that would be to move to h7. And the rook move, I believe, is checkmate, because all the squares are covered. The pawn's covering the g8 square, the bishops are covering these squares, the rooks are covering all these. He's blocked by his own pawn. So it is f7 check, rook to h4 checkmate. Oh, we'll take the knight first. Still the same thing. Checks, captures, and threats. Well, first off, he's going to make a queen. So it's got to be a very fast checkmate, which I don't really see, to be honest. So if it's not checkmate, I got to find a way to stop him from making a queen. I can call it check, and he can move. Then after that, I can call check again. And if he blocks, take the pawn. Yeah, I think that's the answer. Just take his pawns. We have 4 pawns. He has 2. He's about to make a queen. So this check here will force the king to go to 2 squares. And either square he goes to is check. He can try to block it with the queen or move and just take the other pawn. So make sure you win. Checks, captures, and threats. Checks, captures, and threats. This right here is a check, d2. He's going to move over, and this will be checkmate. Check, checkmate. Checks, captures, and threats. This is check. He'll move up. If I were to call check after that, he'll move the king over. So I don't see a way to force a mate right away. Actually, right here, because the rook has protected the pawn. And that'll be check. This is all protected. This is blocked off by the king. Yeah, that'll be checkmate. So check, check, checkmate. All right. Checks, captures, and threats. Wait to move. Now I can call check here. If he moves, that'll be mate immediately. If he takes the queen, he's pinning the rook to the king, which is a pin. And the rook will come down here for check. And it's also checkmate. He can't move back because he's pinned by the bishop. So that would be the answer. Checks, captures, and threats. Let's see here. I have 2 different checks that I notice immediately. The queen can go back as well. That's 3. Can't go here. He'll just take it. So only 3 ones that stand out immediately. Let's see here. Let's see here. This is check. I don't like, and if he moves back, I don't see what to do. Check. Oh, I got it. It was good. It worked out. If I call check and he moves back. Okay, I see it now. If I call check, he moves back. This right here would be threatening mate on g2 with the bishop. So if I call check and he moves here, I can move f8 with a check. Sorry about that. I can move f8 with a check and try to get a checkmate in somehow. But if I call check this way with the queen and he moves back, this right here would be threatening checkmate. He'd have to move the queen to h2 to stop it. And this rook, that's a pin. He can move the rook in the way. I'm not sure. I'm not sure anymore. Check, take. Yeah, because he can block it with the rook. And if I take the rook and the queen takes it, yeah, I don't see a way to follow up after that. This one's I got a little confused in this one. What if I call check immediately? If you were to, oh, same thing. If you were to take up the queen, same situation. I can also call check, but it will be the same situation. Yeah, I don't really like this one. I'm not sure what you think, but I'm gonna my two ideas, but they both lead think seems to be the same situation. What about queen to e3 check? That's a different check. If you move back, that would be check and then mate. So that works. And then check if he would have moved to f1. I'm gonna chalk here. If he blocks, I can take it with the rook and call check, threatening queen. So yeah, the check with a black square bishop. If he would have moved back, I don't know how to follow up or finish it. So I think I'm starting to think it's queen to, yeah, I think it's queen to e3. Okay, that worked out. And yeah, you know how it took a little bit of time? That's actually perfectly fine and normal. Like when we play games, let's say we play, um, let's say I'm playing a 15-minute game. Sometimes I might have to take like a minute or two to figure out a good move, and that's perfectly fine and normal. Um, I know we're used to. I know some people watch people like grandmasters like Hikaru and stuff like that who do puzzles and everything's immediate, and um, where we haven't been playing like how he has been playing. So sometimes it takes a little longer, and that's pretty okay. Oh, so let's see here. Checks, captures, and threats. I have 0 checks. There is no checks available. Here's 1 capture. So that's the first thing to calculate. If I take the knight, he would take the bishop. And I don't know what to do after that. Doesn't seem like the answer here. Let's see here. This is kind of a threat, but it's very slow, and he can move up. If I move the knight away, let's say attacking the queen, if he takes it, no, it doesn't work out. I see that too, bishop capture knight, but then he can capture back. And I'm not entirely sure what we're doing after that. Yeah. Hello. Yeah, I'm not sure what to do after that. If we take the knight and he takes back, um, what would the idea be? What would the plan be after that? Because I mean, I can always try to threaten the queen. Knight f4. Um, take, take, knight to f4, hitting the queen. Let's move the queen back 1. He's now attacking the knight. I guess this is possible to check here and recapturing the bishop. That looks like it might be possible. Knight f4, queen move back to hit the knight, check, and then taking the bishop. So I can try that. Let's see if it works. No, I guess not. That's okay. I didn't know what the answer was anyways. So yeah, I mean, it looked good. It did look good, but it happens to me anyways. I didn't know what I was doing, so I appreciate it. Queen at h4. That will be threatening mate in 1. And if he moves a pawn up, it wouldn't matter. That's still mate. If he moves this pawn up 1, it's still mate. Move this right here, and I don't see anything else that he can do. So that's pretty much should be the answer. Okay, he can call check. And is back to mate. Yeah. Definitely was the answer. Checks, captures, and threats. Now, this looks like a rook sacrifice. This is kind of common when you have the queen lined up. Basically, called check. The king will take it. He has no other move. Queen to h5 check. The king will have to move back, and then queen to h2 will be mate. So that's like a really common rook sacrifice. I've seen it much more in puzzles than games, but I actually have done it a few times, but not very often. Checks, captures, and threats. I notice I can take this, but I don't have a follow-up that I like. I mean, if he takes it a queen, I can do a little fork and then possibly come up, but I don't think that's the answer, because if I take and I do the fork, she can move back to e7. Well, I actually will win the rook if that happens. So he has to take with a pawn. Threaten the rook. He can move back. So yeah, he can just take with the pawn. So since he can take with the pawn, it's not worth it, because he can just start trading all the pieces off. I take the rook, and it'd be a rook and a bishop and knight. Wait a second. I think that is the answer. If I take the knight, he takes the rook. I fork him. He moves back 1. Yeah, I think that is the answer. No, I guess not. All right. Well, I passed 20, which is always my goal, and 30 I'm super happy with, but I don't know if I make 30 this time. I don't always make 30, but 30 is my happy goal. 20 is my normal goal. As long as I make 20, I know I'm doing okay. If I make 30, I'm very happy. Checks, captures, and threats. I know someone said they wanted to play against me. I don't know if they're still online or not. But if you're still online, just send me a friend request. It's Benjamin145, a capital B. So if you send me a friend request, I will pop up and I'll accept it. And then I can accept challenges after that. So let's see here. This is a capture, but you just capture back. This right here is a check. And after he blocks, I can actually take the rook, and then I can take the knight. So I think that's the answer. Now, if I take the queen, he can't take that way, but he can take with his king. If he takes with the king, is there something that I can do? Because if I just take, he'll just take back. Now, I know the knight has no squares. The rook has that covered. Oh, he has that square. Okay, so I can't like move the rook over and attack the knight, because he can just take the pawn. I can't take the rook. He can't take the queen because I'll just win a rook. And if he takes the rook, I can just take the other rook. So it's right here. And then I win a rook. That way. Okay. That was a little hard to find. I honestly don't think I'll see that in a real game. Because that was pretty difficult for me. This is a check, and it also exposes the queen. If he moves the king out the way, I would have to take the rook and then take the queen after. So looks pretty simple. And here, because he went this way about it instead, I would probably have to just take my queen. Because if I take his queen, he would just take my queen. But if I take the knight and we trade, that's a little better for me. But if I trade now, I'll be losing. It'd be 2 rooks and a bishop versus 2 rooks. So that's definitely not the answer. If I call check, that's a deflection tactic. The king would have to move up to defend the queen. And then I can call check again. And if he moves out the way, I get to win the queen. So that's what the answer is. So check, and then take the queen. Okay. Yeah, these get a little bit more advanced, and then this is where I start making mistakes. But they're not super advanced. It's like decoy and deflection stuff, which I have to work on. Okay, checks, captures, and threats. Well, this is definitely a check right here. The problem is that after he moves back, I can't just call a check because it's blocked off by his rook and his knight. Check, move back. I can also, actually, it might not be too bad because he'll take with the rook, take with the knight, call check again. Yeah, I think that's actually checkmate. So. All right, checkmate. All right, checks, captures, and threats. Let's see here. This is a check. This is also a check here. So I got to figure out which check is better and why. This check, he'll just move over one, maybe. And I can call it check. And he can maybe move over again, and I can call it check. And it's just it looks like a really huge mess. And there's also a check this way, which if he moves over, same thing. I can just go up and he can move back here. So it looks like a huge mess to me. And because of that, I don't really know which one's better. To me, it looks pretty messy. So I'm gonna go ahead and I don't want to guess. I'm gonna have to calculate the best I can. Let's look at all the options. This is check. The king can move here or here. The king can move to these 2 squares. So check. Let's say he moves here. And I call it check again. He would have to move. This is only square left. I move back and call it check. He can block it with the pawn. If I take the pawn, call it check, he can just take the pawn to queen, with the king. And the rook can go up, call it check. He can move here. I don't see a clear checkmate because I can call it check again and he can move down. So I don't think this is it. I'm starting to think this is the answer. So let's go this way now. Check. I mean, he can even move down immediately right here. And I don't know what to do. Yeah, I think it's this right here. I think this is the answer. And now if I call check, he can move here. I can call check. And he can move back. And that'll be checkmate. So I think this is checkmate. Yeah. If I move my rook, he can move back. But there's no other forcing move, so. And this right here is mate. Okay. I got a little lucky with that one because I couldn't calculate it fully, but I knew how forcing moves work. And there are times in my own games I've gotten mate in 5, mate in 7s just by like thinking, just by knowing how forcing moves work and being lucky together. So that was a little bit of luck with knowing how forcing moves work. All right, checks, captures, and threats. This is a check. He'll move back. Or check, he'll take up the queen. Yeah, that would be pretty bad. This is also a check. I can take up the queen. I can take it. All right. Yeah, this is definitely does not look like a normal checkmate or easy checkmate to do. It just isn't. I have a rook move here to attack the queen, but he can just take the knight. But I'll take the. Okay, so I can look at that. Threaten the queen. The queen would have to move somewheres. Okay, I like it. I like it. All right. I'm not sure. I don't want to go here because he can just block off the square and attack my queen. So I'm thinking I want to stay on this diagonal, but this is a bad one because he can block it. Can't go here because he can just take it. So I'm thinking queen to h3, and if he takes the knight, I can call check. If he takes it, call check. Take the rook. But that'd be a rook and a queen versus a rook and a queen. I don't see. Oh yeah, I can call check after that here. Would I be able to win the rook though? Okay, let's say I go here. He takes. Check. Takes. Check. Oh, that'd be checkmate. Yeah, he can't move anywhere. Okay, so I think I'm gonna go for that. I'm not 100% sure. Okay. All right. That was a good run. I got 31. Super happy. I'm always happy. I'm very happy getting past 30 every time. I did get a little bit of help though, and I do appreciate that. So yeah, if someone just wants to do a challenge, just do a 3+3 minute game, a 3 minute plus 2 game, not rated if they wanted. My username is Isherman145. If I get no challenges in let's say 2 minutes, I'll just play against a computer and go over some basics like fundamentals and some basic like ideas and principles. So I'll wait for 2 minutes. It's 9:42. If it's 9:44, then I'll go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go ahead and yeah, if you want to challenge me, just let me know as well. You can just type it. Yeah, it seems like he did. It happens. Is there anything you want me to go over? I can always play against, like I said, I always play against computer and go over some ideas. Is there anything specifically that? Oh, 10-minute game? I guess I could do that. The only problem with 10-minute games is that I explain a lot, and you can probably beat me because I'm telling you exactly what I'm doing. So, all right, E4. Yeah, I know. I accepted it. Okay, this is my normal. I always do E4, knight to F3, and I usually go into the Italian and Evans Gambit lines type thing. My usually set up. Okay, here I like the castle. That's what I like to do. There's different options he has after this. This is my normal move. Okay, so here I like to get into the Evans Gambit, which is a different move order, and it's not called the Evans Gambit anymore. But I like to usually just go to B4, and it usually gets into the Evans Gambit lines, usually. Okay, so he didn't accept. Now that he didn't accept, I have two different pawns hanging, and that sometimes can cause difficulty depending how I deal with it. What I've learned to do here is just attack the knight. It's what I've learned to do. When the bishop is back on b6, the bishop's back on e7, so not 100% sure if that works here. So I have to go over it. Let's say I play b5, he can try to attack the bishop. Yeah, the bishop can go back here, and it'll be protecting both pawns. So that's how you protect both pawns in this opening. Yeah, because I normally try to go for Evans Gambit here, but if it doesn't work out, I kind of just get my stuff together. Bishop can go either way, depending on what I like. I guess I can go over here this game. Usually it's more helpful to be on this diagonal than it is on this diagonal. Just because the exposure. This is usually common to attack the center though. So I have to decide if I want to attack the center or attack that way. Yeah, the bishop's usually over here too when I go this way. And that bishop can't counteract it. So this bishop can't counteract it. So I think this square is better. Trying to weigh out the differences. I'm not very good at it yet. I'm learning how to. And when I figure out and understand the difference is much better, then I'll be closer to mastery. But right now I'm kind of figuring it out. Let's see here. I want to move the bishop out the way, but I really can't. This would be a bad pin, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop that because I want to be able to move my queen eventually into the game somehow. But if it's pinned, I can't, and I can't move the bishop back because he'll take the pawn for free. So I kind of have to take care of those things before I do anything else. So I need yeah, this pawn has to move. I'm not sure if I want to go to c3 or c4, but I'm thinking c4. Bishop be protecting both pawns. Move the queen over, bishop back, pawn up, and develop a pretty good pawn structure. My knight also can help pawn. So I know my pawn structure looks pretty weird for a little bit, but it's not that difficult to get situated. And also, if I move here now, he can just attack my bishop and my pawn. And with a bishop out the way, and he can win a free pawn. So he's setting up a free pawn capture. The thing is I can just defend it now. And then if he goes ahead, I drop my bishop back and then my pawn up. So it's pretty safe. Yeah. And that's because he's no longer attacking this pawn. That's what made this possible, me being able to do the move order like this. All right. And there you go. D3. As I said earlier, just getting my pawn structure set up. So it's pretty good. His pawn structure looks pretty solid as well. Difference between mine and his is mine is out on the white squares and his are in the dark squares, which means that his light square bishop will be more active and my dark square bishop will be more active. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and figure out, should I move my pawn up or should I develop my knight? The center is going to be pretty closed off. There's nowhere I don't see how I can improve my bishops. I can move to a3, but what am I really doing there? Am I trying to trade knights, or am I doing something else? Do I go to c3 and then move over, or do I just move my pawn up and try to break open the sideline? So pretty much, if I move up, I'm not sure what his move will be, and then if I continue, yeah, I don't have a clear plan. So I'm going to go ahead and move my knight up. I can also move my knight just to defend this knight. And go over here. Yeah, the center's pretty closed off. So I want to make my knight useful and bring him over. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Just bring my knight over and make my knight useful. I can go here now. Yeah, I don't want to explain too much because last time I explained too much against somebody in a 10-minute time control, he was able to smash me because I was explaining every detail of what I'm doing. So I'm just trying to highlight certain parts of the game. This is why I normally play 3-minute. This is why I always ask for 3-minute games because it's a little stressful. If you're gonna send me another 10-minute challenge, if it's unrated, I have no problem. I'll explain everything I can. I'll lose every game explaining everything. That's perfectly fine. That's, but it took me a long time to get to 1500, so losing it this way would be hard for me. Queen to a1. Doubling up on the pawn, but I'm not really doing anything, am I? So there's no point in actually doing it if there's no real follow-up. Yeah, I can do that. It'll tie his queen up to the pawn. My queen wasn't doing anything here anyways, and I don't have any plans of doing anything with it. So that actually works. Uh, and this, I'm not entirely sure. His knight's not doing much here, but my knight's also not doing much here. I can actually bring it over towards the center instead of the outskirts. I can actually centralize the knight. And it'll be hitting a few squares. Okay, so he's threatening c6 to attack my rook. I can go back, and it doesn't change what I'm doing here. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and continue with my centralization of my pieces. The more centralized your pieces, the more attack squares it has. Now, it'd be bad to take here because he can just take this way. So taking with the center pawn is better. Normally, you capture towards the center, but in this situation, I'll just lose a pawn. And also, this helps open up my rook. So it's a general rule to capture towards the center unless you have a good reason not to. And I have two. Free pawn and also opening up the central squares for my rook. So okay, if he moves down, he'll be attacking my few pieces of mine. My knight can actually move now if I wanted. So I can do that. And now I can centralize my knight this way. And if you were to take, I can just take back. I've been explaining, yeah, I'm spending too much time talking a bit, so I'm gonna have to like probably stop talking for the rest of the game. That stops him from double checking my bishop. Yeah, because I'm a long time out pre-move captures, even if it's not a likely capture. That helps you save time in case it does happen. And if it doesn't, you obviously know do something different. I can take here. His bishop is useless because all my pawns are in light squares. So I actually don't have to worry about his bishop for that reason. All my pawns are safe. And pretty much what I have to do with my bishop is get it out the pawn chain eventually. And when I do that, that way I don't want to block my own bishop. But once I get my bishop out the pawn chain, then I can play f3 and keep his bishop out the game pretty much completely after that. Yeah, and even though I have one extra pawn, there's not much I can do with the extra pawn. So I'm focused more on making sure that I get rid of his piece from the game. And then once I successfully manage to get my piece active, my bishop here active, and his piece useless, then I can continue in the end game where I can try to have an advantage that I'm happy with. So I can't play f3 now, but I will be able to pretty soon. So it's not bad. Okay, that's not bad. I'll just attack the queen, pre-move capture. Pre-move capture, save time. Okay. Take the rook. Okay. He can try double attacking my pawn again if he wanted. I can defend it. I defend my pawns and my king at the same time. I may have to that's perfectly fine. Keep my piece on light squares to prevent any issues. I can move up, which is fine. And I can oh, I didn't realize that was checkmate. All right, that was a good game. Yeah, and I lost more rating points. Because that's why I don't like really explaining live and playing with my rating points. Yeah, if you want to play again, that's fine. Just get unrated and I'll even more. A good game. Oh, 6 blunders. I have to. Where is that at? Where I can. I have to switch my screen that I'm sharing. Right here. Okay, I think I switched it. Is it working or no? Okay, yeah, it is. All right. Yeah, it's 2 seconds. Yeah. It says it has 6 blunders, so I really have to see. 3 blunders. So let's see what it thinks is important. Yeah, I know this is not considered a goof, but I always yeah, have a good day. I normally do it anyways because it reminds me of the Evans Gambit, and that's pretty much the move I do usually when it's not taken. Threaten winning piece. I mean, if he takes it, I'll see this moves. Yeah, I don't see how it's winning material, but let's go ahead. That's a blunder. I thought it was a good move to attack a. Let's see what this says. It says I'm threatening to win material. I'm threatening to win a pawn on a7. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'm pretty much done with this. I just wanted to see something. But, all right. Yeah, like, subscribe, share, and if you're gonna play against me, this is the last time accepting games that are rated with my explanations. I worked really hard to get to 1500, and I was really wanting a push to get to 16. Now I gotta try to push to get back to 15. So um, I don't mind if it's unrated, explaining everything and losing, because at least you get to understand more and feel more and get to experience a higher game, and I'm happy for that. I just don't want to lose my rating in the process of doing that. It makes me kind of bummed out after. So all right, so I'm gonna get going now. Yeah, like, subscribe, and share, and thank you guys for watching.